today's pravachan started off with where Swamiji picked up, which was Sun Swami Ardas Hamari Pucho Sach Bicharo. Swamiji here mentioned that you can learn how to ask a guru questions or how to approach a guru at all from how the Sidhs speak to Guru Nanak Dev Ji. The Sidhs here are calling Guru Nanak Dev Ji Swami, which means master, which also means remains in the self, and also means the caretaker of the world. So the Sidhs are actually calling Guru Nanak Dev Ji with such respect, and we can learn a lot from them as to how to approach a guru with humility and so forth. So Sun Swami Ardas Hamari Pucho Sach Vicharo. With humility I ask, I seek the truth. Please tell me of the truth that you've discovered, Guru Nanak Dev Ji. I ask for true contemplation, and this actually shows us the state of the Sidhs. Their questions pertain to realizing the truth and not worldly gains. Then the Sidhs actually add one more thing on. Rosna ki jai uttar di jai, kyo paiye gurdwaro. The Sidhs then say, if I've made a mistake in asking the question or the type of question that I've asked, maybe I haven't respected you fully or something has gone wrong on my part, please do forgive me. Please do still give me instruction of your path. Don't be angry with me. And the question is, kyon paiye? Means how do I obtain the truth? And the answer is gurdwaro, through the door of the guru, or simply, if you put it, via a guru. That's how you find the dwar, or that's how you obtain the truth. Then Swamiji here mentioned a poem that they were reading. And this poem it started off by saying, Main aap apni talash mein hu, mera koi rehnuman nahi hai. And the entire poem repeats this one line, which basically means, I am merely just looking for myself. I have no one else. And here Swamiji told the Sakhi of Bhai Jethaji, whose parents passed away at a young age and they were raised by their maternal grandmother or their nani. Bhai Jethaji later became Guru Ram Das Ji, the fourth Guru. And but when they were young, forget about school, they didn't even have enough money to buy food. So they would help their grandmother sell roasted chickpeas, and that's how they would make their money. But one of the things that their grandmother always did was to take them to the satsangat of Guru Amar Das Ji, the third Guru. Eventually, even the maternal grandmother passed away, but Bhai Jethaji continued to go to satsangat. And one day in satsangat, they went into samadhi, and when they woke up, they realized everybody had gone back home. Guru Amar Das Ji sees as well that there's still one person sitting in sangat. And he goes up to them and says, look, everybody has left. You should leave as well. And that's when Bhai Jethaji comes out of their samadhi and says, Guruji, those people that had mothers and fathers, they went to their mothers and fathers. Those people that had siblings, they went to them. Those people that have spouses and children, they went to their houses. But I have nobody and I have nowhere to go. And seeing this, Guru Amar Das Ji then had said, no, Bhai Jethaji, you're wrong, because you are mine and I am yours. And from today on, you do have somebody, you have me. And so that's the point where Bhai Jethaji took on Guru Amar Das Ji as a guru, but also that Guru Amar Das Ji took on Bhai Jethaji as a shishya as well. Continuing on with the poem, Main aap apni talash mein hu, mera koi rehnuman nahi. Oh, kya dikhayenge raah mujhko, jinko apna pata nahi. The poem continues on saying that, how is that person going to show me the way who himself does not know himself? And then the poem continues, without pain, strife, and effort, there is no satisfaction to life. And Swamiji always mentions this quite famously, that when we look at any type of instrument, for example, the tabla, We love to hear what it can produce, but we never look at how much pain and struggle it actually went through to becoming such an instrument. That's why when we see very successful people, even on the spiritual pathway, we see, oh, wow, they're enlightened. Oh, wow, they've become so high. Oh, wow, they're very popular. Or, oh, wow, they're this, and this. But we don't check how much pain and struggle they actually went through to get there. And without that pain and struggle, the end result, the reward, isn't even that satisfying. And in fact, in the Adhyatmic world, you don't even get the reward until you've gone through the pain and struggle. So that strife, that effort, having to go past non-ideal situations, this is all part of the spiritual process. Then the poem continues and says, I've never bowed to anyone before you, Guruji, that before meeting you, Guruji, I've never bowed to anyone. These mandirs and these masjids, these claim to have God, but my God isn't within them. I am merely looking for myself. I have no one else. The poet says, these places of worships, for the Hindus, it's the mandirs. For the Muslims, it's the masjids. But for anybody else, Christians, it's the church. For the Sikhs, it's a gurdwara. They all claim to have God within them. But the poet is saying, my God isn't within them. I am merely looking for myself. I have no one else. And this is the type of conversation, this is what someone on the spiritual process is looking for. Sometimes we make up God to mean some mystical, magical creature, so far out, so difficult to meet, and something so separate from us that we actually forget that God was our own inner self, even behind the mind. That is actually what we've been looking for. So then Swamiji continued on with Sidh Gosht, Eho man chalta sach kar baise, Nanak naam adharo. Swamiji here mentioned there are no ideal situations in life. You're never going to have, and take it from personal experience, it's never going to be perfect to meditate and go into sadhana. In fact, you're going to have a lot of obstacles in the way, but you have to still meditate anyways. Swamiji here gave an example of Tukaram, a Bhagat, who when they would meditate, their wife would actually slap them, and while meditating, and yet Tukaram would still be very happy and very joyous even through that. Ehuman chalto sachikar baise, Nanak naam adharo. In Gita, a very similar question is asked by Arjun. So if you want to check it, it's chapter 6 of the Gita, lines 34 and 35, where Arjun asks, Chanchalam hi manaha Krishna pramati balavadridham tasyaham nigraham manne vayuriv sodushkaram. Basically, he's saying that my mind is very restless and very stubborn at the same time. Just like you can't grab wind in your hand, I can't control this mind. And then Krishna replies, Shri Bhagavanu Vacha, Asanchayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena Chagrihiyate. Krishna responds saying that it is true what you're saying, that the mind is very difficult to control, but Arjun, it can be done through two things. One is vairag, or detachment, and the second is abhyas, or practice. Vairag, Swamiji gave really amazing definitions, and definitions that can help you in your inner process. Vairag means the lack of attachments, good or bad. Rag means attachments that you have to the world as you experience them through your senses. So anything that you experience through your senses, whether you've seen something, heard something, whether you touch something, any of that stuff, if you get attached to any of those sense pleasures, that's considered rag. And vairag is when you see the sense pleasures for their consequences. You use vivek to see that these sense pleasures are only nice for a little while, But as soon as I touch them, as soon as I get them, they start to perish and they start to rot. And what I once found to be very alluring now is actually troublesome for me to see these sense pleasures for their consequences. Another great definition of rag and varag is whenever your attention is outwardly focused or you're in the mind. And varag is whenever your attention is inwardly focused or when you're behind the mind. Rag meaning you're in the mind, varag means you're behind the mind. And behind the mind is where pure consciousness resides. So this is the first thing that Krishna mentions to Arjuna is hone varag, practice varag. And number 2 is abhyas, practice meditation over and over again and in a continuous way. And this is also the answer that Guru Nanak Dev Ji gives to the Sidhs, Nanak Nam Adharo, that you have to, if it's a Nam or a mantra that you're using as your practice, then you have to continuously sit down and make an effort every day to recite that name. And particularly if you've been coming to this class and you've been to the Adhyatma Prakash class, you have access to the Nam, in a very different and a very exalted way, because the Nam is attached to the Nami, the one that the Nam is indicating, and you know about that now. You know about the Nami, you know about God, you know about how they are, that they're Satchidananda Sarup, that they're the consciousness that the mind resides in, that they're the non-judgmental awareness that resides behind the mind. You know about them now. You know that they're Chaitan. So when you recite the Nam, you can actually recite it with a higher quality. And as you recite Vaheguru, 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 instead of thinking about even Vaheguru the way that it's written, or thinking about something outside of you, or imagining something, you can actually slip right behind and get who is watching the Simran happen, who is watching the sound come out, who is watching or allowing the sound to be produced, what is behind this, and drown more and more into the consciousness that is supporting even the Nam Jap to happen. Then Swamiji mentioned here that the mind is restless. This is actually a blessing of God, because your mind leaves, goes into whatever it likes, and then it returns unhappy, because generally everything on the outside, it perishes, it changes, and the mind ends up returning to itself unhappy. But then it leaves again with a new desire, and then it comes back unhappy. But what we must see here is that the mind has an inherent quality of search. It continuously is searching. It doesn't stop searching, which is why even if one desire isn't fulfilled, it'll make another one and start going back outside again. However, with Vivek, you must realize that the mind is still searching, but it hasn't found a place yet where the search is fulfilled. It continuously returns unfulfilled, empty, and then it goes back out trying to fulfill itself, and then it comes back empty. It's a blessing that it's continuing to search, but you have to find the place where the search is actually going to be fulfilled. And that is the consciousness right behind it that it's using to function. And here then Swamiji talked about the Shabad Mantu Jyota Sarup hai, Apna Mool Pashan, that the mind needs to retreat backwards into its origin place. It needs to go backwards. And here I actually wanted to share a quote that I find very inspiring and very clarity producing, which is a quote by Raman Maharshi. And they say, "We are so engrossed with the objects or appearances revealed by the light that we pay no attention to the light itself." This is actually very useful as a seeker as well. We're so engrossed with the objects or appearances that are revealed by the light that we pay no attention to the light itself. When you open your eyes, or when you open any of your senses, when you're watching your thoughts, and as a thought is being produced, and as a thought is collapsing, you pay so much attention to the thought. You pay so much attention to the things that the eyes see or the things that the ears hear, and you pay no attention to the substratum that is allowing the thoughts and all of this sense information to be collected in the first place. What within you even allows you to be alive? What exactly within you is alive? What is on within you that even allows you to interact with the things that you're seeing with your eyes or you're hearing with your ears? What thing is alive that allows you to watch your thoughts come and go? So pay attention to the light and don't be so distracted by what the light is revealing. And then finally, Ape mele milai karta laga sach pyaro. The Sidhs ask, how will God unite me with him? The Sidh is asking. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji's reply is, laga sach pyaro. When you fall in love with him. When you fall in love with Vaheguru. In a very simple way, what this means is, when the consciousness behind the mind is more alluring than the mind itself, you'll realize that you're falling in love with Satya. That you're falling in love with something that is the most real. Even the mind isn't as real because it comes and goes. It drifts into and out of existence. Every day you wake up and then you go back to sleep. Every day you wake up and then you go back to sleep. Thoughts come, thoughts go. Thoughts come, thoughts go. But when you start to find the consciousness behind the mind more alluring than the mind itself, it means you're starting to fall in love with Satya. And then at the very end, Swamiji actually told a Sakhi, and that's where my internet cut off. So I'm sorry I wasn't able to grab that Sakhi. Maybe next time. I apologize. That's all I have to say. Please forgive me for my mistakes. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.